Amat merat ike tesolderat ikmerut.
Hey y'all, Dave here. Welcome to the first in a series of short videos where I discuss various fallacies. Most of us will already know what a fallacy is, but for the sake of completeness, a fallacy is an error in reasoning that means the conclusion is not guaranteed by the premises. We often see the names of fallacies being thrown about in debates and discussion on Twitter and Facebook, and see some YouTube content creators simply throw out a fallacy when responding to videos from theists, then using that to dismiss the conclusion or argument. This is something that will come up in a future video, but an argument containing a fallacy doesn't guarantee that the conclusion is false. It just means that the conclusion isn't guaranteed by the reasoning. For this first video, I want to discuss a fallacy that touches on something like this. The GI Joe Fallacy. The GI Joe Fallacy was first coined in 2014 and referred to cases where people have misguided notions that knowing about a bias is enough to overcome it. It's a fallacy that is not particularly well known, but one that I feel every skeptic and atheist interested in critical thinking should know about and heed. Of course, knowing about it isn't enough to overcome the kind of fallacious reasoning it's discussing, but understanding that this kind of reasoning is common enough to have a fallacy named after it should give us pause for thought. The fallacy, unsurprisingly, is named after the popular GI Joe catchphrase,
"Now we know."
And knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe!
For example, knowing that a straw man argument is when we misrepresent someone's argument in a weaker form, and then attacking that weaker form isn't enough to overcome the fallacy in our own reasoning. The fallacy itself reminds us that knowing that a straw man is that particular thing doesn't mean that we won't commit straw man arguments all the time. Or knowing what an argument from authority is doesn't mean that we won't commit an argument from authority all the time. Just like anything when it comes to logic, reason, and critical thinking, these things are things that we have to put effort into and have to be mindful of. Knowing is not half the battle when it comes to fallacious reasoning. It's just the first step into training. The training is the real battle.